Check 1, 2. Be sufficient. What's up, Big Mike? Oh man, I did not intend on going live today. But here we are. Oh, freaking boy. Okay, yeah. Brian East was good, man. Let's do this. Let's talk about this. If you have not heard the news yet, I am sad to break it to you. What's up, Percolator? Percolator says he needs his points. Well, you know what, Perk? You'll get your points when we get another when we get the Evil Within 3. There's an echo. You guys hear an echo? Rodimus, is there still an echo? Mike says he hears no echo. Okay. Wolfgang in the house. What's up, man? How's it going? You know, it's I forgive me as I gather my thoughts, because I'm like I'm equal parts angry and then equal parts disgusted at the same time. And if you haven't heard the news, you're wondering why I'm angry and disgusted. It's because Xbox, Microsoft Gaming have decided to shut down 4 studios. 4 studios, and I'm actually going to go over the letter, the email that Matt Booty, the Chihuahua as I like to call him, posted and sent an email to everyone at Microsoft. Let's do that real quick. This up. Want you guys to see this. Hope you guys can see it well. Maybe I can blow it up a little bit more. There we go. This is from Matt Chihuahua Booty. Here are the changes going into effect. Arcane Austin, this studio will close with some members of the team joining other studios to work on projects across Bethesda. Arcane Austin has a history of making impactful and innovative games, and it is a pedigree that everyone should be proud of. Redfall's previous update will be apparently, a pedigree so proud of they gotta close the studio down. Anyway, Redfall's previous update will be its last as we end all development on the game. So the DLC that they were promised, the DLC that people had paid, that the Bite Back edition, they already paid for that. No, that's not happening no more. The game and the service will remain online for players to enjoy. Who? By the way, and we will make good offers to players who purchase the Hero DLC. Let me discuss this before I get any further into it. Let me discuss this specifically. So Arcane Austin, the studio that was working on Redfall prior to the acquisition, this studio was hoping that they would shut the game down because they did not want to make Redfall. Xbox leadership were so absent and did not do anything when it comes to actually finding out what's good. Let me bring Luca in as well. They didn't do anything in knowing what the actual developers of Arcane Austin wanted to make. They didn't know how bad development on the game was. They didn't even know the game wouldn't ship with a 60 frames per second mode. Yet their own negligence lended towards Arcane Austin having their only bad release. Shut the studio down. Sounds great, right? Alpha Dog Studios. This studio will also close. We appreciate the team's creativity in bringing Doom to new players. Mighty Doom will be sunset on August 7th, and we will be turning off the ability for players to make any purchases in the game. Tango Gameworks. Their only Japanese studio, by the way. The region of the world they said they want to make inroads with. Yeah, that only Japanese studio will also close. We are thankful for their contributions to Bethesda and players around the world. Hi-Fi Rush will continue to be available to players on the platforms it is today. Why would you even need to say that? You just sold the game on those platforms. What, you're just going to like renege on it and like not allow people to even download the game? Like this is stupid throwaway comment, Matt, but sure. Roundhouse Games. The team at Roundhouse Games will be joining ZeniMax Online Studios. Roundhouse has played a key role in many of our recent game launches, and bringing them into ZeniMax Online Studios to work on the Elder Scrolls Online will mean we can do even more to grow the world that millions of players call home. Wow. Okay. This consolidation of our Bethesda Studio teams so that we can invest more deeply in our portfolio of games and new IP. I don't know how you're doing that with less people, but okay. A small number of roles across select Bethesda publishing and corporate teams will also be eliminated. Those roles will be impacted, will be notified today. And we ask that you please treat your departing colleagues with respect and compassion. Far more respect and compassion than we have. We will provide our full support to those who are impacted in today's notifications and through their transitions, including severance benefits informed by local laws. These changes are not, I love this paragraph. I'm a really enjoy digging into this part. These changes are not a reflection of the creativity and skill of the talented individuals at these teams or the risk they took to try new things. I acknowledge that these changes are also disruptive to the various support teams across ZeniMax and Bethesda that bring our games to market. We are making these tough decisions to create capacity, to increase investment in other parts of our portfolio and focus on our priority games. I ain't gonna read the rest of that because who gives a crap?
Yo.
What, Matt? What is this paragraph? How do you think
speak? Yeah,
it is freaking nonsense? How do you shut down? I don't even know how many bodies they just made unemployed. But the 4 studios, with 3 studios, the fourth was merged into another one. 3 studios you shut down. In addition to eliminating your presence in a region of the world that you claimed you wanted to be so much of a part of. How is doing that increasing investment in other parts of our portfolio and focus on priority games? You know what you're focusing on, really? You're focusing on live service games.
Mm-hmm.
That's it. Because Roundhouse is still, they still employed with ZeniMax Media that does Elder Scrolls Online. Shocker. So what we see here is that if you release, and this is for anyone that may be listening that may work at, I don't know if you are, but you may work at a Xbox studio, because it's like, what is it now down to 31 now? So the other 31 studios, okay? If you work at one of these studios and you release a game that doesn't succeed critically or financially like Redfall did, update your resume. Additionally, if you release a game that's critically successful like Hi-Fi Rush, but doesn't have any kind of financial success, also update your resume. You might be in trouble. What this says is all of that talk they did, now I'm actually starting to get a little bit angry because I made a video years ago about how their approach to acquiring studios was so unique and different. I feel like a damn fool for even making that video.
Unique is definitely a word. Yes.
Oh yeah,
brother.
Yeah, but I'm listening to people like Brian Fargo from In Exile. I'm listening to people like the founder of Double Fine talk about how happy they were to be acquired. Talk about how they felt about having the security to not have to worry about the studio closing down because they wanted to make something different and unique. And then I see this bullshit. So What happened? Is it ABK? Is Phil even in charge? Who's making these decisions? Is it Matt Chihuahua Booty out here making these decisions? Because whatever it is, you are killing any chance that you have of getting any other studios or publishers to sign on. It has been just 3 years since you acquired ZeniMax Media, and now you're shutting down like half of their studios. So why would anyone think you could get Sega? Why would anyone think that you could get EA or Square Enix? And for them to not think that massive changes would happen when they are just being themselves, making the kind of games they want to make, and you just decide, I don't know about the sales tail on this. Oh, we should have paid attention and realized that your game was in trouble and should have gave it the love and care that it needed prior to this case. But whoopsie, too bad. The game failed. I'm not going to take any accountability in that, and we're going to shut you down. And before I let my awesome guests get into it, I wanted to Dinga, who was the lead director on Deathloop and has now become the studio head for Arcane. He was the studio head for Arcane Lyon and Austin. I want to read his statement on this because Dinga had a lot to say, and I think his statement was he took his executive hat off and he just kept it a buck. And I want to read that real quick as soon as I can pull it up.
While you're looking for that, I just want to say that they need to go ahead and get Mr. Bootylicious up out of there too. Go ahead and free up those funds. You know what I'm saying? Like, I just, this is just really unfortunate. And I was definitely one of the people, for Bethesda at least, who was just like, oh yeah, this is great. Bethesda and Xbox have a long history together. They can do some great things together. Now, ZeniMax was already struggling before Xbox purchased them. They were the ones who were forcing their developers to make games like Redfall, to make games like Youngblood. You know what I'm saying? So it's like, for me, I'm not super, I don't know. I'm surprised, but I'm also not surprised, because given how this industry has been the last couple of months, and I believe it was around 10,000 jobs lost in the industry last year, and several this year so far, it's just kind of one of those things where I'm like, oh, this is not an industry that I would want to be working in. I know that things are looking rough in industries across the board, but the gaming space especially, if I was a developer or just anything, I'd be getting up out of here, dude. I'd be looking for a different career path, going someplace else where my skills can be utilized, because things are not looking good in this space. They overhired and overcompensated after the vid, all right, the tech boom in the vid, and now corporations are forcing their people to come into the office. They're forcing folks to stop working from home, and they're spending too much money. They're spending far too much money they don't have, and money that they're getting rid of these jobs in order to oh, we're gonna consolidate and we're gonna get rid of these jobs and we're gonna focus on making things that are profitable, essentially is what they're saying. And that's, the Fallout TV show was a boom, it was a hit, and they're just like, oh, y'all need to come out with another Fallout ASAP. We can't be waiting 18 years anymore. Hyperbole. We can't be waiting the 5 to 8 years anymore for another Fallout game after the success of this. So it was very much a corporate PR spin. A lot of BS, a lot of, hey, we're looking to see how we can make things better. And the way we make things better is by demoralizing our employees and cutting people's jobs and making people fear for their livelihoods, when we're already, at least in the States, things are looking real bad when it comes to the cost of living. It's just very unfortunate that this has happened. And again, if I worked in this, you get up out of here, y'all. Like, start looking for jobs elsewhere, because nothing is solid anymore. You would think that under Microsoft, they would be okay, but I guess not. I just guess not.
Let me, I got 3 super chats. And JD Gamer, I appreciate your opinion. I appreciate you super chatting, but I'm about to kind of go in on you. Suggest.
Real quick, because I just want to say that when you're on my channel and someone says something crazy or something you disagree with, you're immediately like, F you, you piece of garbage, y'all are dumb, right?
Well, I didn't say all that. The last part I do say, but the F you piece of garbage. I mean, unless someone says something like that's actually like, you know, Drake-like, then yeah, I don't really call them a piece of garbage.
Okay, I'm gonna keep this conversation in mind. Make sure I clip it for the next time that you do. Go ahead.
Okay, no problem. JD Gamer with the $5 super chat. He says, "Don't jump to the usual negative Xbox. I would argue Arcane should be closed. Arcane knew the state of Redfall, got extra time, and still didn't fix it." JD, what is the usual negative Xbox? So what in a vacuum, is this good or bad? You let me know if this is a good thing or not. Because if you are taking all the other negative Xbox news into account, when they just shut down 3 studios and merged another one in, what are you doing here? It seems to me you might need a break from social media, when instead of actually having some empathy for the people who have lost their jobs and for clearly a complete shift in the focus and the priorities that Microsoft Gaming used to have, instead of that, you care more about narratives. Well, I'm sorry. Fuck the narrative. I don't give a shit about any of that shit today. So unless y'all got some facts to give, y'all can miss me with all that. Arcane should be closed because of one failure, but what about 343? How many failures is 343 going to have? They didn't get closed down. What are you talking about? Like, Arcane Austin had good games before Redfall. They didn't even want to make Redfall, but Microsoft Gaming wasn't paying attention. And you want to talk about, oh, no, I'm going to get to the other super chat. JD Gamer, $5 super chat. Business 101, never employ someone that isn't capable of doing the job, unwilling to do the job, or doesn't have the passion to do the job. That's Arcane. No, that's not Arcane. That's Matt Booty. So why is Matt Booty not fired? He isn't capable of doing the job. He's unwilling to do the job. He doesn't have the passion for the job, but he got promoted. Funny, you're not saying fire Matt Booty. You're just agreeing with the decisions that they made. Shocker, JD. I will be more shocked when you finally stop agreeing with everything Microsoft leadership does. That will shock me. JD Gamer, $5 super chat. Tango was Tango in name only. Shinji Mikami opened his own new studio. Where do you think he got that staff? Tango, so all the talent is gone. JD, I would like to have some receipts for it. He took all the staff from Tango away. Furthermore, Shinji Mikami was not lead director on Hi-Fi Rush, which was a good game. So I don't understand why instead, so you're saying one dude leaves a studio, shut the whole studio down? That's disrespectful to the developers at that studio who do a good job. We got to get out of this headspace that like these developer personalities are more than what they are. Just because one guy was a director on a studio does not mean that the other people who work there are irrelevant or worthless. Is there another super chat? I don't know. Yeah, shout out to that guy Smitty with the 23 months. DPS class says, F the narrative. Damn right. I'm sorry, I did miss another one. JD Gamer, $5 super chat. Microsoft is $1 trillion, I guess he meant $1 trillion because they know how to make the hard decisions. You can't just keep people employed who aren't productive, a la Arcane Austin.
You're making a lot of assumptions about productivity. Like, we actually don't know what was going on behind the scenes outside of the things that they've told us, right? Which is they didn't want to make this game. They were forced to make this game by ZeniMax, right? Microsoft had a bit of a two hands-off approach, and which was a reaction from being too heavy-handed with Bungie, and some other studios as well who were unhappy under them. They made a promise to allow the studios to do what they want, but unfortunately, this concept of allowing the studios to do what they want, it doesn't seem to work out very well when the people over the developers had made this decision to make this title that they didn't want to make. And because they didn't actually check in and just allowed them to continue working without doing like the basic, like, hey, let me just see how this game is doing, how my people are feeling, then they came out with Redfall, and Redfall was just a flop in so many ways, not just with the frame rate. The frame rate was the least of that game's problems. So I just think that it's dismissive, and I would also note cruel as well to just assume that people aren't working hard when there are other extenuating factors there. There's a lot of context to be had. You can't just black and white the situation. And Microsoft has, the Xbox division has always been a little shaky, They've never won a generation. And let's be honest, the reason why the sales were so high for the 360, even 360 was a cultural phenomenon, right? It was cool to have a 360, but that red ring of death had people buying multiple consoles. You know what I'm saying? Who knows what the actual numbers would have been if that was not the case as well. So for me, Xbox has been looking shaky since TV. And of course, I was definitely someone who was championing one of my favorite liars, Phil Spencer. But as it stands right now, things aren't looking good. They know that things are not looking good. Phil even came out after the Redfall debacle and he said, my job might be on the line too. Like they are well aware of how they are perceived by the player base, how they are perceived by others in the industry. And Microsoft having more of a heavy hand on Xbox, maybe that's not the best either. So I feel for those at Arcane Austin, but like also at the same time, what else did they do? Prey didn't do well financially either, and it was like a mixed bag when it came to how people viewed the game. People either absolutely adore it or they hate it. So I don't know. I prefer Arcane Leon mostly, so I guess all I can really say is it just sucks. It sucks. And again, who knows what might have happened if Microsoft had not bought ZeniMax Studios. They might have ended up being closed regardless, but it's just not a good PR spin after you spend billions of dollars on Activision Blizzard, and then right after that deal is finalized, you're like, oh, you lose a job, you lose a job, you lose a job, you lose a job. And that's the typical narrative when it comes to consolidation, but it's still unfortunate. I don't think anyone should be championing those who aren't in control of the financials and those who don't have any like executive power losing their job. Now, Mr. Booty, get him up out of here. All right.
Please.
What has he done? What has he done? I don't
know. Fail and get promoted.
Get him up out of here. Get him up the fuck out of here. Okay. But that's just me.
Now, let me, before I get to the rest of the super chats and welcome Aradimus would like to join us as well and speak his piece. I wanted to recite the words from Dinga Bakaba, who is the studio head of Arcane. And he says, this is absolutely terrible. Permission to be human. To any executive reading this, friendly reminder that video games are an entertainment/cultural industry, and your business as a corporation is to take care of your artists/entertainers and help them create value for you. Excuse me. He continues on. Don't throw us into gold fever gambits. Don't use us as strawmen for miscalculation/blind spot. Don't make our work environments Darwinist jungles. You say we make you proud when we make a good game. Make us proud when times are tough. We know you can. We've seen it before. For now, great teams are sunsetting before our eyes again, and it's a fucking gut stab. Leon is safe, but please be tactful and discerning about all of this and respect affected folks' voice and leave it room to be heard. It's their story to tell, their feelings to express. Inside baseball, but if I read immersive sim curse from the community, especially from a fellow dev, I swear to God, please let's talk about the real challenges instead of rehashing irrational anxieties of the past. Even more inside baseball, but with a very, very wide range, as a wise and soberly Miss Man said, please stop. And so I thought that was, from the studio head, an actual good statement, because it showed empathy and it showed his anger in the situation instead of just reciting whatever PR narrative that like he may have been passed to say in order to defend leadership for their decision making. For the super chats, let me okay. Shout out to Snow Dragon with the $2 Canadian, says capitalism worked yesterday, not today. And JD Gamer with the $5 super chat says, let me be clear, I'm not happy these people lost their jobs, but when it comes to Arcane Austin, they could have done a better job, but didn't, period. Facts. Okay, JD, I'm glad that you're not happy that people lost their jobs. I didn't say you were happy. I said you were defending leadership here, and I'm not. And clearly you are.
He's
but that
happy.
said,
I think he's morally apathetic, to be honest. I don't think he cares.
True. Yeah.
Respectfully, JD.
Right. And to be clear, Arcane Austin isn't the only people who bear blame for Redfall. Was it Arcane Austin that created the CG trailer that was the announcement trailer that they did as a one more thing at the end of one of their showcases? No. Who financed that? Because clearly it was Arcane Austin, who didn't have a single actual CG trailer in the entire game. There were little like backdrop cutscenes where they just moved the camera left to right. Was it Arcane Austin that misrepresented the expectations of this game to the gamer? Was it Arcane Austin that decided we're not going to let everyone know there won't be a performance mode for a first-person shooter until nearly launch? Was it Arcane Austin that didn't know the game didn't have a 60 FPS mode until 3 months before the game launched? All of this is Xbox leadership's fault. And so everyone who's a part of the process bears blame for a failure. It ain't just Arcane Austin. It's the ZeniMax Media Bethesda leadership. Pete Hines took an L for this. Pete Hines doesn't have a job because of this, but some people still do. And all I'm saying is, when are the actual people who keep messing up finally gonna get their comeuppance? Who knows? Rodimus, before you go, I want to let Forte speak his piece real quick. Forte, go ahead, man.
No. I don't know what Rodimus got for time and stuff, so let him go ahead real quick.
All right, go ahead, Rodimus.
I ain't doing nothing today, so I'll be here.
Oh, I got plenty of time. You got plenty of time. You can go ahead, Forte.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I mean, it's just another scenario that Xbox just doesn't need to deal with at this moment when it comes to everything that's going on with them. Of course, business as usual. The thing about Xbox is it's always something. It's always right now. It just seems like what's the next thing around the corner. But I keep going back to the fact that ever since it feels like Microsoft got more of a foothold on what Xbox is doing and paying more attention to it, it seems like a lot of these decisions and stuff are happening because of that. Ever since Amy Hood started speaking on a lot of the stuff that's been going on with the financials and stuff over at Xbox, it seems like a lot of cost cutting has definitely taken place when it comes to stuff like that. That's why you're, part of the reason why you're seeing games in other places. I wouldn't be surprised if that's why you're seeing a reduction in overall overhead when it comes to developers or studio overhead when it comes to that. So a lot of this ultimately keeps coming back to the fact that Xbox has kind of mismanaged itself for the last generation and a half almost. Once again, going back to the fact that, you started the, last generation with 4 first-party studios. Well, you started with like 6 or 7, then you downgraded to 4 when you let like Lionhead and all these other studios go. And then you went another 3 to 4 years with just a few studios. And then now you ramped that back up in started ramping up in 2018, 2020, started announcing all these games. And we really haven't seen but a handful of that stuff. So all you see is money going out and really no money coming in. And once again, services have peaked when it comes to Microsoft, the thing that was supposed to bring them and kind of compensate in the short term to what they wanted to do. I also think the one thing about this Fallout show, I think that doesn't help the matter, where no one really knows what the timeline on another Fallout's going to be, and you really can't even capitalize on that success of the TV show. So it just brings up the fact that I feel like a lot of different things are kind of at play here. But ultimately, the one thing that sucks is the most that are people being impacted by it. People that think that, like you said, Luca, it's Microsoft. You would think you would be fine, but then again, Microsoft doesn't become a $3 trillion company without making decisions like this, even if people don't like them. I think Xbox has kind of ran autonomously for quite some time, and I think that time is over. I think, Phil Spencer just answers. I think Phil Spencer is the head of Xbox when it still just comes to title and name only. Microsoft as a whole pretty much is the steward of everything that's going on with that company until they figure out exactly what they want Xbox to be. And I wouldn't be surprised if this isn't the end, because we got a lot of games that's supposedly releasing this year. What's that going to look like? Now you're going to have developers wondering, like, hey, even if my game does great, is it a possibility that we could be on the chopping block? So it doesn't really help them in morale and stuff like that. So I don't know. It's really interesting to kind of see all of this stuff kind of folding out, especially now, a month before the Xbox showcase, where they're going to be showing off pretty much everything that these developers have been working on for the latter part of 5 to 6 years. Can't even really be excited for it when it comes to stuff like this. And, that's very disheartening. But once again, I think Microsoft has a huge hold on what's going on with Xbox, and that oversight is real at this point.
I guess before Rodimus goes, I want to say a couple of things here. Okay, one, it wouldn't surprise me if Arcane Leon also would have been on the chopping block if they did not have the Marvel IP for Blade in their back pocket. If that game wasn't on the table, it wouldn't surprise me at all.
I would have been devastated. I would have been heartbroken. I love Dishonored. Please leave them alone.
And then, so I do have some numbers that I can talk about. So as far as the number of people that have been laid off, because this is something that I've been kind of interested in knowing. Around 80 at Tango. Some of Arcane Austin's people are being moved to different studios, so like 111 there. But we're talking like basically, and then like the other studios were like 30 or less. But like we're talking like millions upon millions of dollars that they're saving in salary, which is probably the reason why they made this decision. It's all about money. It's all about, for the $1 trillion corporation, the richest company in the world, it's about saving the pennies, because literally like the money they're saving are literally pennies on the dollar for them. But wanted to get that out there. Rodimus, you can go ahead.
I think it's thanks for having me, but I think it's pretty bad what's going on, and seeing this as bad news. It is like they're just shooting themselves in the foot, which is probably pretty common nowadays during this generation or so like that. But I think in some essence, though, looking at some of the studios at Arcane Austin, what's the Alpha Dog Studios or so like that, these studios, they're not they're not producing. They were under ZeniMax to the point where ZeniMax was trying to get them to get more money out of it.
Hey, Erodimus, the chat, and I kind of agree with them. You sound kind of muffled. I don't know if your mic is like in a different place or what kind of mic you're using, or if it's something covering it up. But if you can try to adjust it.
I'm on some headphones. Does it sound better?
That sounds a little better. Go ahead.
Okay, because I was bending down some. Yeah, but I think in some regards it's just the nature of the beast where these studios, performance-wise, they have not been living up to their expectations to some degree. I understand when Redfall was delayed out of 2022, they were removing the microtransactions out of the game, so that's what caused the delay. But then not being forthcoming on the delay in the 60 patch, that's on both ends, on the marketing and the studio not saying, hey, we need more time to get these things out. So I think we just had the anniversary of Redfall, and they haven't delivered on the DLC. And so I think, being that Microsoft, the head company, has spent all this money on these studios and they're not producing. I know they say, oh, this is a little thing. I think Microsoft is saying, hey, we have a level of excellence that needs to be met, and some of these studios are not doing it. Now, as for Tango is up there with that level of excellence, but I think Microsoft is just looking at Japan. Why are we spending this money in Japan and we're not moving forward? We're not growing forward. And that's why they probably did put the test on, if we sell Hi-Fi Rush on PlayStation and Nintendo, will this actually move the needle? And it didn't move the needle. So since it didn't move the needle, they said we're investing into a studio that's not going to bring us any more value. And I think that's where Tango falls into that line of, hey, we can do better by just partnering with the other Japanese studios that we're working with, instead of paying out money for a studio that's only going to produce a game maybe every 4 to 5 or even 6 years or so like that. So why don't we just work with, because they got this Pal World, right? Pal World is making them money and they don't have to pay the studio. So we got one company that's making us money, one company had a great game that's not making us money. So Amy Hood is looking at that and said, why should we invest that money? And Microsoft and Xbox now is one of the big three in the company and making money. And how can they make us more money? That's all they're looking at. How can they make us more money? And
all right, well,
go ahead.
I want to kind of dive in a little bit deeper on some of those things. So like, well, Power is a Korean publisher, if I'm correct, developer. I mean, so I mean that, although that is in the Eastern Hemisphere, that's not necessarily Japan. They have very different interests in games and genres of what's popular there. Like the PC scene is very big in Korea, whereas it's not as big in Japan. That sort of thing. But it's like, I don't see how removing your only Japanese studio improves on your desire to make inroads there. If anything, I would say that would kind of like, especially when they've talked in the past about acquiring a Japanese publisher, you doing this would kind of, to them, be counterproductive in your inroads in trying to create the opportunity to acquire one of those publishers, because they will look at it like well, hold on real quick. You also have to kind of look at, like you mentioned, Amy Hood, and Amy is the CFO for Microsoft. She don't know anything about gaming. And it's like, and I think it's something that Dinga has said in his statement today. There's something that kind of echoes what I've said about Microsoft in the past. And people always bring up how successful they are in business, but they are successful in productivity, in utility, business, in tech. and cloud and things that people need, and people have to go to them for those things because they have created things that in business are necessary for other businesses, as well as, you know, people when it comes to, hey, I just want a computer. But that none of that stuff is entertainment. And I think what Dinga is was trying to allude to was that Amy Hood doesn't know how to make entertainment decisions. Sometimes you hold on to a studio that may not be financially viable at that time, but what they provide you, your brand and your portfolio, is far exceeds just the financial value of the studio, how much money you're sinking into it, and how well their game may have done financially. The portfolio and what they claimed they cared about, because it wasn't very long ago they were talking about they were making these acquisitions to diversify their Game Pass portfolio. Well, how you're not doing any of that now? It seems to be you're just basically investing in live service, because if it's not a live service game and it doesn't financially sell, you're done around here. Does that make sense?
Well, isn't Redfall considered a live service game to a certain degree?
I mean, maybe. I mean, like, it doesn't have.
Intention.
I mean, it's a looter.
That was the intention.
Yeah. But Hi-Fi Rush isn't.
And Diablo, not Diablo? That Doom game, that mobile Doom game. That was
Immortals.
Not
Immortals.
Mighty Doom.
Mighty Doom.
Okay.
If it's a mobile game, I would assume it's a live service game. And then they also noted that you wouldn't be able to make any more purchases on it, which would lead me to believe that it's a live service game. So yes.
Very true. Very true. Okay.
So, I mean, it's not the philosophy is not saying, hey, we're just going to support live service games, because in this, you know, closures, two companies that are making live service games have closed down. So I think in that regard, I think it's just they're looking at the financials of these games, like, why are we supporting these games? And I don't know I'm in Austin with Arcane Studios here, so I know some people that work at Bethesda out here, so they might be just moving over to the Bethesda office in Austin now. But it's just one of those things where if they've been working on this Redfall and they're not meeting deliverables and deadlines and stuff, and it's costing them millions of dollars to just retain these people, Microsoft is going to do what other companies do. Is just they're just going to cut the bait.
Yeah,
I think that's what happens.
Yeah, that's kind of where I look at this, because like you said, and I don't disagree with what you were saying. Amy Hood doesn't really understand the entertainment side of it. But I think
the whole company doesn't understand
the
entertainment.
whole company does, but I guarantee you the first thing they're going to say is, well, we had people in place that did understand that, and the stuff never got taken care of. So it's like that old adage is like, if they're not going to do it, we're going to do it for them. And like I said, the worst thing that could have ever happened is, you know, people really just Xbox really was almost acting autonomously under Microsoft. Like, Microsoft pretty much never really interfered. They just gave them, you know, the budgets to do the things that they wanted to do, that they said they wanted to do. But it just seems like ever since all these acquisitions started happening, and ever since that bottom line and that item line under, you know, the P&L for Xbox got bigger, they started paying more attention to stuff like that. And now that they're seeing, like Rodimus just said, they said that, you know, we have a lot of overhead here, you know, not only when it comes to like just different departments and studios, and we're just paying people to, you know, make 1 or 2 games in a 5 to 6 or maybe 10-year period. Those studios aren't producing at the level that we want them to produce. Now, would that have been perfectly fine if Xbox was doing great? Probably so. But the fact that none of that stuff had been happening, and the things that people have been saying about, you know, upper management not doing what they needed to do, you know, the mishandling of Xbox and marketing and stuff, you know, now it just seems like other people that aren't gamers, or not gamers, but just, you know, entertainment, gaming people are looking at this stuff and they're just making decisions that they would normally make in any other enterprise. They said, if it's not making us money, we're going to get rid of it. And once again, I go back to this being a failure of Xbox over the course of the last generation, and not, making it clear what Xbox is and doing the things that they needed to do to foster gaming in a positive manner to basically make people want to have Xboxes. They lost that ability over the last generation and a half, and it's just been a downhill slide ever since then. And it just seems like they've been always trying to find a way to keep their head above water. And Microsoft threw them a lifeline by purchasing all these studios, and they still haven't done anything with it to make the brand any better. The only thing they did was make the brand cost more money. And now they're looking at it like, okay, now we have to do something about this. And that's why I kept saying the reason that this whole narrative around not needing a console to be able to play these games wherever you want, it's almost like they want to see where the bottom is. Like, all of this stuff is like, okay, where can we take Xbox to where it's like sustainable, but it's not something that we have to spend trillions of dollars or billions of dollars, annually to, keep afloat, because they're going to do that regardless. Because I do agree. I think they have a foothold and with all of these studios and all of this stuff, all these IPs that they have, to be able to still make something out of it. But the future of Xbox isn't going to be ran by the people that are gamers anymore. It's going to be ran by the people that are suits in offices that make these decisions, because Microsoft didn't have the capacity to do it themselves over the course of the generation.
Shout out to JD Gaming with the $2 super chat. He says, what if Microsoft is doing all this to make room for Sega? I would say, as I said earlier, closing down Tango is not engendering your company, your business in the gaming scene to any other Japanese studios or publishers. Sega also, when it comes to acquiring publishers, that's typically something that happens when a publisher is in trouble. Like ZeniMax Media was in trouble. The reason why they were making games that were out of their wheelhouse, like Redfall and Wolfenstein Youngblood, games that they typically didn't make, was because financially they were in trouble and they needed help. The only reason why they have ABK is because of all the foolishness they was doing internally. They got in trouble legally with the state of California. Their stock price was tanking and looked like it wasn't going to recover. They needed someone to come save them. And Sega doesn't need saving. Sega's doing good. They're doing very well. And even if they weren't doing well, I don't think they think at this point in time, when you see things like this, that allowing themselves to be acquired by Microsoft would reverse a bad situation coming in the future. Anyone else have any other thoughts about Sega? Or we can move on?
No.
Well,
Cool.
One thought. Didn't Sega,
Okay.
didn't they just sell one of their studios or so like that?
Yeah, they did some house cleaning, so to speak, as far as selling a studio. That I don't know what the internal reasoning for it. Maybe it didn't make financial sense for them anymore as well, or maybe they just didn't see a future with the studio. But as far as like their finances goes, and as far as the sales, their games and so forth, like Persona games have been selling better and better with each release. Like a Dragon, Infinite Wealth has done really well. Sega's in a good position. Like it's
but they sold. I think they sold a studio just early this year, though. Even though they're doing fine, and just like with Square Enix, right? They did it. Several studios to get purchased or look to be purchased, right? So I don't know if other studios looking at Microsoft removing 3 smaller studios saying, "Hey, we shouldn't go over there." If they still think it's beneficial. I don't know if that has any.
Well, how would it be beneficial if ZeniMax Media agreed to be sold to kind of save them from having to do the kind of things that Microsoft just did, and Microsoft did it 3 years later?
Well, it delayed it. I guess you say it delayed it, but then those studios. didn't recover. Right?
Wouldn't you just want to not have it happen? I mean, like, I'm not going to agree to be bought by $1 trillion corporation to delay a decision I'm going to make by 3 years.
I remember when I was like 1999, 96, one of the periods. I remember it was a drugstore. Was purchased by J.C. Penney's. It was my drugstore purchased by J.C. Penney's. So they owned a bunch of drugstores, and we went into the East Coast, and because I was in Texas, we went to the East Coast and we redesigned those stores to look like the same kind of drugstore. And then a few months later, it was all those stores were closing down. They were literally closing down, reducing the stores. And it's like, wait a minute, why did JCPenney buy all these drugstores? And to make them look like, to unify them, because they're a big company. JCPenney was a big, clothing company at the time. And they just downsized. And what the nature of the business is the health of the business. They looked at certain stores that wasn't making enough money, although they were prominently in one store for 5 miles in the area, so like that. And it just sucks. It's just one of those things. I don't understand some of the nature of the business, because sometimes they seem like they're making a lot of money, but they feel like they can find better revenue by closing down these stores and actually keeping them alive. So I don't know. But then that didn't stop them from purchasing other pharmacies or anything like that, or other pharmacies wanting to be acquired by JCPenney's.
I mean, that is a different industry though, as well.
And
that's not entertainment.
How's JCPenney doing nowadays?
I don't know. It's CVS. The store is CVS now, if you want to know.
Okay.
So CVS.
Yeah, I haven't seen a JCPenney in fucking years. Like,
well, you don't see any big market Sears, JCPenney's, I don't know, Dillard's. You don't see any of those anymore.
No JCPenney, no Sears, no Macy's. I mean, there are sprinklings of stores here and there, but they're not as prevalent as they once were.
Right. Yeah. Now, I think it's almost like two different questions here, because if the question is about Microsoft acquiring Sega, one, is Sega even want to be acquired at this point, which they publicly said multiple times that they're good. They're not trying to be acquired. And that hasn't changed anytime soon. That said, even if they were looking to be acquired, why would they go with Microsoft? It could be a different question, because we've seen other massive companies that are invested in gaming make acquisitions and then step back and don't do anything, like Tencent. Tencent acquires people and then they just let them rock.
It could be technology. It could be the advancements in technology they're looking for. Whatever they're trying to do, like they did this partnership with their super games, right? They're probably looking at technology advancements that can take them to the next level with their games or their services. It could be being in the cloud or making AI available, because it's better to be a part of a system that has AI instead of renting it out or developing your own. It depends on what they're trying to look at on their roadmap for the future. So,
well, I mean, they're already doing that though. They already have a partnership with Microsoft for that aspect of that one project that they're working on. I just don't see how an acquisition makes any changes that makes any difference with that. JD Gamer with the $2 super chat says, good point about Sega. What about Square? Square definitely, at least in my opinion, when they sold those 3 studios and a bunch of IP for $300 million, they did that on a massive discount, and they did it because they were trying to be acquired. They wanted to be acquired. They were trying to slim down and make their publishing house look more appealing by basically having a particular brand to it, which was all Japanese, all Japanese focused kind of games, that kind of thing. And nothing has happened. And I think it's likely due to some of the leadership decisions the previous CEO had made. That said, I still I'm looking at decisions that they've made today, and I'm seeing if you're a Japanese developer or publisher, you're not trying to be acquired. This is like literal last resort. We're about to shut down soon kind of decision making, which when it comes to publishers, for ZeniMax Media and Activision Blizzard King, those were except for ABK being shut down, but like when you're desperate, those are the kind of decisions that are made. And that desperation is the reason why Microsoft Gaming has 2 publishers under their belt outside of Xbox Game Studios to begin with.
Yep, that's true. And that's why, I mean, the Moon Studios guy, he actually tweeted out that that's why he didn't want to be acquired by a big company or so like that because of what's happening today. So, I mean, yeah, the smaller industry, the smaller independent developers are seeing notice of this, of what's happening, and they're going to try to stay as independent as long as possible or so like that. So
I have a question for you guys, and I'm a ask this of Forte first. I want all you guys to answer, but Forte, we got Hellblade 2 coming out in a few weeks, right? Hellblade 2 is made by a small studio, Ninja Theory. Their games have never been financially super successful. They do have great technology, great performance and motion capture technology, which they are deploying in great use in Hellblade 1 and 2 as well. Let's say, critically, Hellblade 2 is phenomenal. It's like mid 80s on up. It does great. It's going to get nominated for awards, all that good stuff that every studio would love to have their game received as. But financially, commercially, it's a dud. Let's say it's like Alan Wake 2, where everyone praised it but nobody bought it. Or it's not creating Game Pass subscriptions for Microsoft. What's happening to Ninja Theory 6 months from now in light of what we see today?
What's happening, man? Okay, so the fact that Ninja Theory, this would be their first game since Hellblade, the first Hellblade, haven't released anything. 2017, so you're talking about 7 years since the last one.
Well, they did release Bleeding Edge, which also was a failure.
I forgot about that game. I try to forget about it.
Game was dead. I enjoyed Bleeding Edge, but it was dead in a year. So
didn't even make it that long. But yeah, you're right, Bleeding Edge. So for me, I don't know if they would be right away. I think for the simple fact, but then again, they're a single player studio. They haven't, I mean, Bleeding Edge was a service game, but they really didn't invest into that service game. So if Xbox or if Microsoft wants to basically go into this games as a service sector where your games that you make have to have some type of component to that, then absolutely that will probably be something that's something that could happen. I don't think it would happen with them off of this one game, because like, once again, I think the fact that I just don't think Xbox and Microsoft have been aligned in their overall thoughts on what should make a game sell. Because me personally, if you're telling people that they don't have to buy your console, it's kind of counterintuitive to you selling games. And the fact that your games are in a subservice, that doesn't help sales either. If this game shows up on other platforms faster, maybe. I do think like Erodimus did say, like the litmus test was stuff for Tango Gameworks when it came to Hi-Fi Rush, that being on multiple platforms and, you know, not doing as well as well as they wanted it to do. I think Hellblade would do better. I think if they did, they'll release it on Xbox first. And then if that was the situation where they did release it on other platforms, I do think that game would sell better on other platforms on top of what it does on Xbox when it comes to services. So I don't think it would initially do it, but I do think that it would be something to keep an eye on when it comes to like how long the development timeline will be on another IP for them, or is the next IP for them going to be another single player game? Because I don't know if Xbox wants to just, you know, keep producing just single player games going forward. I think, you know, even when it comes to I mean, Sony has made the decision to kind of ramp back on that because they were full-heartedly going in that direction where they were still making single-player games, but they wanted the majority of the portfolio to be diverse into games as a service. So I don't think initially that it would be something that you would have to worry about. But if the game didn't do as well, you better hope the next one does something better. And at that point, then it would be another discussion. But once again, this isn't a conversation around Microsoft, Xbox. This is what Microsoft is willing to, accept. Because I think Microsoft is willing to, they were willing to accept a lot of things when it came to performance, when it comes from games and studios and stuff like that. Is Microsoft going to allow that to happen, long term? Because yes, they invested in these studios, but to these studios, they're just a dollar sign. Phil Spencer and Matt Booty and Sarah Bonds are the ones that went out and had cultivated these relationships with these studios. When you go and look at the announcement video that Ninja Theory put out when they were purchased by Xbox, where they were talking about the stability of Microsoft and everything, and they were happy that they could, have creative freedoms to do the things that they wanted to do. That was all stuff that, Phil Spencer and all of them basically, sold to them. Now with Microsoft having more of a, a foothold on what's going on with Xbox, what is Microsoft willing to deal with? And I think those are two different things at this point. So I don't think you'll worry at first, but I think after this game, which I think is going to be great, I think it's going to be amazing. I don't know how it's going to sell just due to the fact that Game Pass is a thing. And it's not like it's so ridiculously well on PC the first time around.
Yeah, but that's also why I added in the caveat of if it doesn't increase Game Pass subscriptions, because I think on a commercial sense that what they deem to be commercially successful isn't just game sales but subscriptions. They're going to
do it long, but that's the thing though. Since
and that's why I asked the question the way it did. Like if it doesn't increase subs and it doesn't sell well, what happens to Ninja Theory?
I don't think Ninja Theory goes in just because I think if the game is a critical success when it comes to like review scores and everything like that, I think the fact that Tango Gameworks, it was a smaller game, and yes, it didn't take a lot to invest into that smaller game, but it was the fact that they're paying a lot of money to keep oversight on that studio and stuff. Ninja Theory is probably a little bit different. It's not a big studio, but they also have tech that most other studios don't have, when they have like full mode catching studios and stuff like that, where other studios inside of Microsoft Game Studios can be able to utilize that stuff. So I think
according to what I've seen,
go ahead,
from what Tango has been completely closed down and there are 80 developers that have lost their job. It's about, I would say Ninja Theory is bigger than that.
Yeah, they're bigger. Ninja Theory is bigger than it, but I think they bring more. I think they'll bring more to the table when it comes to other things that could impact Microsoft gaming or Xbox gaming than, I hate to say, than Tango, because all of these studios brought something to the table, because I don't want to be disrespectful like that. But I just think that Ninja Theory has a longer rope. And but I also think the game has to score well. If the game doesn't score well and it doesn't do well, then those are two different things. If it scores well and just because of the whole narrative of Game Pass, and I think what will happen before anything else is the narrative around Game Pass will kind of change. I think Game Pass will still persist like it is, but I think the day of games only being on Xbox are completely gone at that point. If this game does not do well, I think that opens up the floodgates on, we already know everything for the most part is going to other platforms at some point. I think that opens up the realm that day and date might be a thing for games going in other places if this game doesn't do well outside the gate, because we already know the release window is the most important window for a game. So even if this game comes out on another platform a year from now, 2 years from now, a lot of people aren't going to be really looking for it like that. Some people will, but not enough to like really move the needle. So that's where I think you'll see more of a change. I don't think Ninja Theory will be on the chopping block for just this one game not selling due to not really having as many consoles out there or Game Pass, because Starfield didn't even move the needle like that, and you still see Bethesda proper, still being there.
All right, Luca, same question to you. If Hellblade 2 launches and is critically successful, but doesn't sell well in unit sales and doesn't move units as far as subs for Game Pass, what happens to Ninja Theory?
Goodbye, Ninja Theory. Yeah, they'll take their technology and then axe half of them.
Could definitely see that.
Like, come on, man.
Like,
At this
I
point,
can see
like,
them, taking the technology. Yeah. I don't know if they would do it right away, but
no, they wouldn't do it right away. They'd wait a year, like they did with Hi-Fi. When did Hi-Fi come out? Last year?
Last year,
January 2023, Shadow drop with no marketing.
Yeah, they'd wait a year and some change because they're like, we gave you guys like 70 years to get Hellblade 2 out, and it didn't sell well, nor did it give us any more subscriptions. Yeah, we're axing half your studio, and we're gonna take your technology too. Thank you. That's what I think is gonna happen. Because at this point, it's like, well, who knows? No one's really safe,
Yeah, and I would say they will probably wait until after they released it on PlayStation to see if that might save it. And if, in like Hi-Fi Rush, it did not sell on PlayStation either. So yeah, I think if it doesn't sell well on PlayStation as well, a year later, yeah, you're done. And because you don't need to keep a studio open to still use their technology. You could take the technology, keep a few people who can basically explain the technology. I mean, it's mocap. There's multiple studios out there that do mocap. The fact that you got that proprietary doesn't make you safe. It doesn't guarantee your safety as a studio. It just guarantees your technology will always be in use for as long as it's relevant and it actually gets the job done. I don't think that saves them as a studio.
I just don't think this is a Ninja Theory issue more than it is a promotion and marketing issue on Xbox if it doesn't sell well in the direct. See, I don't think it's a Ninja Theory reason that this game doesn't sell well though. That's my thing.
Well, I mean, that's not really.
If Microsoft, but then I said it's not going to be okay. So that's the ultimate question. If Xbox has anything to say about it, or is the last line of defense did no, but if it's Microsoft, then absolutely.
Well,
we see how they're moving right now.
Well, then clearly Microsoft is the one because they making cutthroat decisions right now. Like, I don't think they're going back to look, you took an L there, it's all right. Try again next time, because they said that about Arcane Austin after Redfall. They said Arcane is not in any danger. They're going to retool. They're already working on their next project. That's what they said last year, 2 months after Redfall came out. Now the studio is closed down. Whatever narrative, whatever thought process that we had about how they manage their studios, about their philosophy of their studios prior to today is done. That's not how they roll no more.
Well, that's also was said prior to that $70 billion being put in the bank on ABK. So
exactly. Also, yeah. So goes to more of the show about how the philosophy has changed. Rodimus, same question to you. What happens in Ninja Theory? Critically successful, commercially failure. What happens to them?
Honestly, I don't. Because they got Project Mars, and they advertised that one as a game that's actually coming out. We've seen footage of that one, so. Mm-hmm. I think we're still going to see that one go through after Hellblade finishes. And I think they did do some investments to buy them a new studio and do new hires for the studio. And since they are part of the original 2018 group, I think the 2018, 2019 group that got acquired, I think they are stable and understand where they lie. It's just the ABK group and the Bethesda group that's they are trimming the fat on. So I don't know. I don't think anything particular is going to happen to them. Like I said, you never know. With the Microsoft executives coming into play here, and then what they spent and what their roadmap is for the future or so like that. All I can go by is what they did for investments and what they've done for the studio. And like I said, as we've seen for the layoffs and everything, we haven't seen anything really with the 2018 studios that's been affected since they've been doing layoffs. I mean, it might be some minor things that we really haven't heard of. It's only been the newer studios that acquired in the past two years that they've been adjusting.
Yeah, that
kind of,
yeah.
Right.
No, because we basically talk about the publishers. Yeah, I didn't even think about that. There's even more overhead because the publisher side of it. I'm not surprised. I wouldn't be surprised at some point if Xbox or Microsoft goes through and severs a lot of that overhead that makes those studios autonomous to themselves. At a certain point, if they have to go even deeper than they are right now, because the fact that a lot of these other studios like Ninja Theory and I forget
Obsidian.
Obsidian. That's what I was thinking. Obsidian and stuff.
Playground.
And Playground's been with them, been making games for them for quite some time, so they have an even deeper relationship with that one. So that's a good point. I do think you'll see it's a little bit more destructive right now because it's the studios that they just acquired not too long ago when it comes to all of these things. And that's why I say I think it's going to get a little bit more messier before it gets better.
Shout out to Enrique with the $2 super chat. He said, look, it's not me saying this. This is Enrique who said this, okay? So don't get mad that I'm just repeating what he said. He said, SloMo is always right. Great convo panel.
Oh,
just putting out that.
What's wrong with that statement?
Oh, no, just, some people, Luca, might, say something about that. And I just want, I'm just repeating what Enrique
said. It's not true, so.
It is. I mean, hey, look, see,
truth is another man's lie.
Exactly. One man's perception of reality doesn't make reality. You know what I'm saying?
Exactly.
So. Look, he spoke his truth, and I believe it is true.
That man
so that's
is
all I'm
lying
gonna say.
through his teeth. He doesn't even believe that. He doesn't even believe that. He is lying.
This is terrible. And Enrique also has a question for us. He says, with acquisitions comes increased operating expenses. Do you think, given the negative growth last quarter minus ABK, was a motivator for these closures? I think that
hardware, because they're fine, their services, and
he said minus ABK. Minus ABK, the revenue was down as well.
Oh, you can't minus it because it's a part of it. I don't understand how can you minus something when they acquired.
Well, it's indicative of how the Xbox business was doing before and is still doing, regardless of ABK. So that's going to be very important a year from now, because as we see with these financials, year-over-year growth is a key component to how decisions are made.
So I guess when do you stop minusing ABK? When do you start including it?
It's included now, but when it comes to growth, a year from now, you're going to be having your financials pitted against your current financials right now, and ABK will be included. And so if you're not growing the business outside of ABK, that becomes an important thing to worry about, which is maybe the reason why they're making some of the decisions that they're making right now. Because let's say it's an estimated 15 million that they saved in salaries by closing the studios that they closed today. Well, that's money that you don't have to spend on people, on bodies, and on developing games a year from now. Mm-hmm. And so essentially that's why he's asking the question: is the business outside of ABK not doing great the reason for these closures? And I could say, maybe. It wouldn't surprise me if it is.
I would say you probably would have seen a more deeper cut if it was like that. I would say you would see things from maybe not playground, but turn 10 or something like that happened because they didn't meet their financial with Forza Motorsport not being a great hit, right?
Right.
You would have saw something from them, and you probably would have saw something from Machine Games, since I know they have Indiana Jones coming up, but I'm just thinking they haven't produced, a lot of these studios haven't produced in a while. NXL and Undead Labs or so like that. I would think they probably would have been hit.
This isn't the end. They're probably going to cut more people. They did they did lay off 1,900 Activision, Blizzard, and Xbox employees 3 months ago. So this is just what, number 2? They probably have another line of cuts in a couple months. So
yeah,
are we
and
sure
also
it's not part of the 1,900? Because I don't remember. Because these are a very small number of studios.
No, this is all new today. This is Matt Booty sent an email today about this. And this is not old.
Today, but
No, this is all current stuff. There are people. Dinga sent his email out. His message out today. Matt Booty in the email said that there are people who are not necessarily developers, but they work in the Bethesda and ZeniMax studios in different capacity that are also being laid off, and they have not been notified yet. So all this stuff is brand new. This isn't like old layoffs. This is new stuff.
No, I'm not saying old layoff, but it was all. But they not? Maybe they were included in that original layoff number because they have to get other stuff up.
No, this is new. This is new. And I forgot what I was about to say.
Luca, while he's trying to remember what he had to say, Big Mike requests you to read the last super chat from the homie Brad.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah.
See, he said, I stand corrected. Luca is always right. See, this man is lying through his teeth, okay? He is just saying what people want to hear. I don't believe you, Enrique. I don't believe you, man.
Shout out the Braff with the $2.
Unlike some people on here, my ego is not so easily stroked. But, that's just me.
Forte, that's sad, man. Your ego was that easily.
What are you talking about? When I get out of this show, I'm going to move on about my day and act like none of this just happened. I'm good.
Oh, man. I do remember what I was about to say. Aramis, about Turn 10, I agree with Luca. Not that she's always right, but she was right at this point. Turn 10 in Forza Motorsport not meeting sales financial expectations. You gotta think about the fact that their game is a little bit younger after release than Hi-Fi Rush, than Redfall. So it still could be that, like, if they're going, and we all believe that all their first party games will eventually make it to PlayStation and Nintendo if it makes sense and if the hardware can handle it. If Forza Motorsport heads over to PlayStation and does not find success over there the same way it didn't find success in growing Game Pass subs or unit sales on Xbox and PC, yeah, that's a whole different, like it's just like this, that game is still too young or too new in his sales cycle to make the same kind of decision that they made with Tango Gameworks, because clearly they waited to after Hi-Fi Rush release on other platforms before they made this decision. And I think that if Hi-Fi Rush was more as financially successful as Sea of Thieves has been over on PlayStation, that maybe they're not included in this studio closure that we got today.
You either got to make a really good game consistently, or you got to be a Insomniac and release 7 games in one generation.
Well, I think Xbox, since they have been having this issue where their games do run better on the other platform, they do need to tighten the ship on that. And maybe that should be more of the fear of God for these developers, and more than anything, that you're going to lose money for the platform if your game is not working properly the best on the platform it's supposed to be on. So that is also another situation I see. So if it's because they can get 100% revenue if the game works better on Xbox PC compared to 70% or whatever, 30%, whatever they get 70% if it goes to PlayStation or so like that. You never know. That is costing the money.
I just want to say this real quick because I just saw this tweet. Richard Hogue, shout out to Hogue Law. He says, for the record, and this is in regards, he's quote retweeting Dinga's tweet out there about the closure of Arcane Austin. He says, Hogue says, for the record, a thread like this is how you get a disciplinary meeting / fired. Maybe he doesn't care. Maybe he's just had enough. But it's highly unusual to see messaging like this go out at virtually the same time as bad news from your bosses and their boss. And I just quote retweeted that saying, maybe he don't respect the leadership that's in place.
Like, what does he mean by that?
What does Richard mean by that, by Hope?
Yeah, like, what is the point of him saying that?
I guess he's saying that it's unusual for him to come out and speak like that publicly about his about other executives.
Say. you don't, people bad mouthing their employers? Really? That's like something unusual? That's a shock? Wow. Really? I'm actually really surprised. I didn't realize that was a bad idea. That typically if people do that, clearly there's some other issues going on.
Yeah, I mean, hey, look, P. Hines said that. P. Hines did that.
First of all, Pete Hines has been unprofessional his entire fucking career. Let's start there.
Hey,
okay?
That's true.
That dude is an asshole. All right? But he also doesn't work there anymore. So.
Hey, maybe Dinga go looking for a new job. We'll see. Shout out to Glacian3. The $5 super chat says, let them do what they want as a leadership strategy, but people who don't know what they are doing will never produce deliverables. Thank you for that super chat, Glacian. Yeah, I just find it fascinating because the way I see is that most people under Microsoft Gaming that speak out against what decisions leadership makes, they not long for the company.
Mm-mm.
They don't get outright fired. They're kind of like what's the word I'm looking for?
They fire people, move people.
They move people. Yes, they move people to roles that have zero power until they decide to leave to go do something that's worthwhile.
Where they send Shannon Lawton's The World's Edge.
Yeah, until they released a published game and then she's out. Mike Ybarra, they had him, come out with a statement saying he wanted to travel the world or some crap like that. After that, well, a month or two before that, he said they would have to drag my dead body out of here. I guess you're dead. I guess they got Joe out here from Netflix, using your cell phone and making tweets for you while your body in different places somewhere, because Mike Ybarra ain't there no more. And hey, look, Pete Hines had a very spicy email to Phil Spencer how he didn't like how the communication was going, and that got out into the wild, through the ABK case. And then as soon as some things, settled down with the ABK case, Pete Hines is, hey, I'm doing different things out here. I'm going to retire now. So look, if Dinga not around after maybe 3 or 4 months, you know what's up. And I think that's to speak on that. I think that's a little bit of insecurity on the Xbox leadership side. You're not perfect, and no one expects you to be perfect, but we do expect you to be able to take constructive criticism for decisions that you make. And the decisions that you make that could be construed as bad decisions, because clearly it's not like you make all the best decisions there is. And if someone has something to say about it, sure. But when it comes to it's not like Dinga is out here saying Matt Booty, like I call him a chihuahua, right? It ain't like he called him a chihuahua. Yeah, that's fireable offense right there. But to speak out, and say what he basically was saying was, this is not a very good entertainment decision. When we do good work, you say we do good work, and when times are tough, you let us go. Like, that's not engendering the kind of reaction that you would want. And so with his statement, I got no problem with his statement whatsoever.
I don't think a lot of people.
If I could go real quick,
Yeah,
So
go ahead.
also, like, him not saying anything isn't going to protect his job anyway. So what?
True.
Like, he could be on the chopping block too. Who knows? Again, I just think Hoag's comment is he's all like, "What was the point of you even saying something so fucking stupid and worthless? What was the point?" Because he's like. Because someone said, so what? Good show of character from him doing the right thing in the face of being punished. And Hoag's like, so it's worth nothing. Get off Microsoft's schlong. This dude is so freaking annoying. He is one of the Xbox schlong lickers that nobody wants to acknowledge as a schlong licker because they like the guy. All right?
Damn.
Like,
Damn.
what? He's been saying just because the dude's a lawyer, everyone's got all this respect for him. Like, you can still be a fanboy cuck even if you're a lawyer. All right.
That's true.
Why would you say something like that? And it is such a wow. For the record, a threat like this is how you get fired. No shit, Sherlock. Duh. Obviously, you can get fired for openly criticizing. Are you fucking stupid or something? Why would you say something like this? Bro, I'm about to block him.
Hey, don't hold on. Chill out. You ain't gotta block him for that. But I feel you. I feel you.
Like, I hate people who point out the fucking obvious like that. And brother, don't. Oh my lord, have fucking mercy, dude. He is not for the industry. He's not for the people. He's another Microsoft schlong licker, like all the fucking rest of them. People make me sick to my fucking stomach, dude. Sorry.
Wow.
I'm not sorry, actually. Because explain to me what was the point of him saying that. Someone explain to me what was the point. What does he gain by saying it? Hello?
Well, he doesn't gain anything. I think the biggest thing is that I feel like there is a difference in expressing your displeasure with a scenario or a situation with the people involved versus airing it out on social media for everybody to see. Like I always tell my my little land of the world. If I say something to one of my associates about a situation that they're handling with somebody, I'm not gonna do it in front of another person. I'm gonna do it in the privacy where our back and forth is our back and forth. Everybody isn't the privy to what me and you have to say.
If you work in corporate America, you're not supposed to openly critique your bosses. You're not supposed to do that. Obviously, that is an obvious thing. No one needs to point it out or explain it.
I'm not talking about what you're saying about what Hoag is saying. That's the guy.
Honestly, Dinga,
I agree with that. I agree with that part.
He shouldn't have said anything at all if he was concerned about his fucking job. That's an obvious statement.
Well, that's the thing. If you're not
supposed to come out and say anything,
you say whatever you want to say at that point.
I was going to come more to the angle of, like, if Forte, because you being a person of position and I have people under you. So if you say something bad about the corporation and poison the well, of the employees that work under you.
Yeah.
And I think that's more of the line, because you as a low-level employee, you can criticize whatever company you want to, but I think when you're in a position of power, that holds more weight. So that's the thing I think should be more restrained, I guess you'd say. I will
tell you this. I have been taught ever since I've been in upper management for 16 years now. I have been, the number one thing I was taught by my first DM or whatever job I ever had is when you have people underneath you, your grievances always go up. Just think about it. Saving Private Ryan, grievances go up, your gripes go up, they never go down. You never gripe. I don't gripe to the people underneath me. I gripe to the people that are above me. And I feel like like I said, for Hoag to say what he said is the obvious, and I see what Luca is saying, like, why are we stating the obvious? We already know that this is the case. If he said this, that's because he doesn't care. But when it comes to like Dinga and his comments in general, it's like, if I'm gonna gripe about this, I'm gonna gripe to who it matters to versus griping to the world about it and then letting the people underneath me see that frustration. Now, granted, that frustration will play well for him with those people because they probably feel the exact same way. And if he doesn't care about his position or what his standing, what said company is, go for it. I mean, I'm with you. I mean, we all want to have somebody that's going to have our back or our perceived back when, you know, especially if they have nothing to lose, but most of these people do. And that's why most of these people don't do stuff like this. That's why I think that's why Hogue said it's unusual. And I think that's the real reason that came out like that, because most people don't.
Let me say this. People like Dinga, who made Deathloop, who, although there are some people who didn't like the game in this community, that game was critically lauded by games media. Everyone critically loved it. And he's now making Blade. They can't fire him at this point. If they fire him for saying that while he's making Blade, how well do you think it's going to turn out for that game and their standing with Marvel Studios and Disney? Not very well. He got some security. He got some leeway. He got some job security to speak his truth. And that has happened plenty of times when you see somebody who is out there who got some clout, I'm a little untouchable right now. I'm going to say how I feel. And frankly, I think it's far more important to Dinga that the employees that he manages at Arcane Leon respect him, and the community that he's engendered with Arcane Games and the gaming community respect him, than the handful of executives at Xbox who can't take constructive criticism to save their life and also can't do their job to save their life either.
Well, I will
also one more thing.
Yeah.
Sorry to interrupt, but one more thing. The gaming industry is also not like other industries in which these people have no fucking problem coming out and just yapping. All right? True. They do it all the time. In every single studio, there's someone who comes out, starts yapping. Every news organization in the industry, someone comes out and they start yapping. All right, they have no issues keeping their mouth shut, which is why it's also annoying that he would come out and be like, well, this is highly unusual. It's not highly unusual.
Look, it's still
it's not. It's actually not highly unusual for the people in this freaking industry. They don't know how to keep their fucking mouth shuts. Actually, I would be more shocked if no one came out and said anything, honestly speaking. But at the same, and I've been saying this for years now, this industry is fucking weird. People should not be coming out on social media and saying the things that they say, but they do. It's just a strange industry.
Yeah, but I think you're dealing with Microsoft, and you're talking about Satya. Satya's reason. It's not Phil. Phil might understand it, and he probably have to take cover for him and anything like that. But does Satya care about that? Does he understand that?
No. Why would he?
Yeah. So
why would he care?
When he'll be the last say, hey, get him out of here. He'll be the one that say, get him out of here.
Yeah.
So, because he doesn't care. And he said, who's this low level dude that's speaking out, that's that's poisoning my well?
Yeah, honestly, I'm with you, Erodimus. SloMo says, oh, he's got clout. He doesn't have he has a little bit more safety and security. I don't think so. I think that they could get rid of him now, and what's going to happen? Nothing. Nothing's going to happen, all right? Because they're firing people left and right. They're closing studios left and right. People are upset and mad. And guess what happens? Nothing. There's nothing. So what's going to change if they fire him? Nothing. People are still going to buy it. If the game's good, they're still going to buy it, all right? So it is what it is.
Next man up, too. The assistant creative director, he said, I'm taking
Everyone is expendable. Everyone.
Yeah. Especially to the people that don't know exactly what they're overseeing. They just see, like I said, Microsoft sees all of these studios and these people at these studios as numbers. They see them as a dollar sign. And if, like you said, Erodimus, if you're poisoning my dollar, if your dollar sign is poisoning the well, I don't even know who you are. So why are you even here still? So, but that would be disappointment if that did happen, because I do agree. We do like, I think a lot of people like seeing stuff like this just because we like to hear people speaking out, because it lets us know that we're not crazy and we're not the only ones thinking this. People inside these companies are thinking it too. But the difference is those people have a lot at stake when it comes to these jobs that they have with that security. So, a lot of people want to be able to have a 30-year career at a company like Microsoft and stuff. So, it's interesting, but I agree with Lucas. Really set off. I didn't think Luca would take it as. Yeah, but Luca, you're right though.
I like stuff like that. Like I don't like stuff like that. It's an unnecessary comment. People just lost their jobs. People just found out they lost their jobs. This guy is coming out and he's speaking up. He knows these people. Yeah. He knows that he works closely with these people. And Hogue is just like, well, guys, this is highly unusual. What, dude? Are you okay? Come on now. So, this is what I'm talking about when it comes to people in positions like he is, right? Like, it's an unnecessary comment. He didn't need to say it. He could have waited for people to process. And it's just like, it has me scratching my head because it's like, well, what's the point of this comment? You're pointing out the obvious. So what are you even trying to say? Like, you are pointing out something that everyone with half a brain is aware of. Yes, this is a highly unusual comment. Yes, it could lead to disciplinary action or him being fired. Guess what? Him just existing and not saying anything could also lead to him getting fired. They have no issues cutting studios and cutting people, clearly. So I don't understand why he felt the need to comment on it like that. Thank you, Captain. I was about to quote tweet him like, thank you, Captain Obvious. But no, you know what? What did someone say? It's okay, Luca, calm down. I guess. All right? You cool with that guy, SloMo? Is that it? You guys chill or something?
What?
Chill you and Hogue? You guys buddies?
No. What? All I said was just,
So that's not a no.
Chill out a little bit.
That's not a no. So you guys are buddies? Is that it? All right, I understand.
I'm not buddies with Hogue Law. I don't even talk to Hogue. How did this become a thing where it's like me just telling you, you called them a cuck and all kinds of other stuff, and I'm just saying, hey, chill. And is that your dude? Like, it's like it reminds me of that Kevin Hart and 40-year-old virgin. It was just like, this your boy? I'm like, no.
Oh, okay.
We don't rep the same smart tech. I don't know him like that. I'm just saying.
Okay. All right. Okay.
Oh god!
I think it's time for me to roll out. It is my lunchtime now.
All right, enjoy your lunch, buddy. Thanks for coming.
Take care, man.
All right, I'll talk to you later.
All right, yeah, it is kind of time to wind down. So I would say everybody give their little last thoughts on the whole topic, and then we can get up out of here. Forte.
Very unfortunate. Once again, the gaming industry as we know it has changed indefinitely. I think this is not the end. This is just the beginning. And I think the one thing that sucks the most about it is the fact that, outside of people losing their jobs and being displaced, the fact that we're getting a bunch of games that's going to be announced over the course of the next month and a half, or not announced, but showcased on release dates. We can't even celebrate that right now because of, the unfortunate news of these closures and these layoffs. And it's just going to, makes the conversation not feel as good as it could have felt if this was something that didn't happen at all. But, hopefully those people land on their feet. The people that were displaced are the people that are going to be in other places and working with new people. And against everything else, if you feel a certain way about something, don't be afraid to speak your truth about it, because that's what we're here to do. And there are people that look for leadership when it comes to stuff like that. But just know that there probably will be repercussions if you speak out on stuff that you probably shouldn't. But ultimately, it sucks.
Yes. Repercussions for speaking out. Thank you.
Ditto.
Ditto.
Yeah, I almost kind of dare them to do something to the Dinga.
That would be interesting because
I think he's got some clout where he can say his piece and they're just going to shut up at this point. I think I don't think they're in a position to do it.
Depending on the labor laws in France, what they can do to him. So you have to go through all that in HR. So he probably has some leeway.
That man probably drinking tea like Kermit right now somewhere. Like, we
yeah, he should, as he should. Rodimus, last words for you before you gotta go.
Oh, none of just it's a bad day in the industry. Like it does tarnish the rest of the year for, Microsoft and Xbox. Is what they're doing, and honestly, it's an industry problem that's been going on since 2023, right? I think Lucas said it before. These companies overhired, they're overspending, and the industry is a self-correction to a degree. So, but it's not a good look right now, especially when they go into the season where they're about to have the showcase and they're about to release their first game of the year. So, as your title said, four layoffs and no releases for 2024, and it's just one of those things where it seems like every time Microsoft or Xbox gets some kind of good momentum, it's always something bad happens, and a lot of people are tired and fed up with it. So it is what it is, I guess.
Agreed. Luca, any last words?
I just want to apologize to no one. I said what I said, and I meant it too. All right, like
I knew you were going to do that.
Listen, like this is just so silly to me. I honestly speaking, even seeing these layoffs, I wasn't angry. I was just kind of like, oh, of course. Well, of course it's happening. But one thing I can't stand is people coming off as dismissive when it comes to people's livelihoods. And I'm talking specifically about folks who are not in control, who are not executives, who can't just easily bounce back from losing their jobs. Like some people, like Mr. Booty, fire him. How much money is he making? He can make up for at least 3 jobs, I'm sure. Get rid of him. All right. But like everyone else, that just sucks, man. It's always really shitty when people lose their jobs. And if it's like, and I said this with the Saints Row situation as well. I was like, I feel for those employees 100%. That fucking sucks because they had no control of what the people on top were doing, what the people on top, the nonsense that was coming out of their mouth. You know what I'm saying? That's one of the things that was inevitable in my opinion. But like this, Tango Gameworks, like who saw this coming? Who saw this coming? After people absolutely adored and loved Hi-Fi Rush, you got to be serious. Now here, even Arcane Austin, it's like you said, SloMo, didn't they say they'd be okay? Like y'all will be fine. Yeah, y'all be fine.
Last year they said there's no problem. Phil Spencer himself said Arcane Austin is fine, and we're looking forward to their next game. This is what the head said, and look what they did now.
Again, this is why he's one of my favorite liars. Top 3: him, Jim Ryan, and Todd Howard. Phil Spencer, Jim Ryan, and Todd Howard. My top 3 favorite liars. All right, like. God damn. Okay, anyway, so good luck to everyone who lost their jobs. I hope they're able to bounce back on their feet and it doesn't take too long to find something. I don't know, man. Lord have mercy. Choose someplace. I don't know. Like, I don't even know where you could go where you would be safe. You know what I'm saying? Like, it's just looking bad in the industry right now. So good luck to these guys and good luck to everyone else. And I'm sure that we're going to have some really interesting hot takes over the next couple of days. Honestly speaking, I don't even want to hear it. I'm just going to mind my business and stay off this conversation thread when it comes to this. I'll just wait for the show on Saturday and I'll give my piece then.
Cool. For myself, I'll just say this because I've said a whole lot over the past nearly 2 hours about this. I'm gonna sum it all up by saying, if you cannot look yourself in the mirror and give yourself the same level of criticism that you give others, if you can't look at yourself in the mirror and say, do I deserve my job when I am complicit in the failures of commercially of the people that I manage, do you even deserve your job? Because I see a lot of studios and people and other people being thrown under the bus for decisions made by people who are still employed. So when are they going to be held accountable for their performance? And when are you going to stop promoting them to manage more studios that they will just eventually mismanage? Be for real. no, I got a little bit more. Hold on.
Oh, okay.
Be for real. No one respects Matt Booty in this industry. And I'm not talking about us as a community. I'm talking about developers. People that I've talked to don't respect him. He is not respected in his role. He is not, as Microsoft Gaming in general isn't respected. You are irrelevant on the world stage, and you continue to make decisions that prove why you are irrelevant on the world stage. If you want to be taken seriously in gaming, in the gaming industry, and if you want gamers to start paying attention to you on the level beyond simply, I'll wait for your games to show up on my platform, maybe. Get rid of the people who are making the dumb decisions and can't do their jobs. Okay. That's all I got. All right. Enjoyed you guys joining us. Enjoyed the chat. All the super chats. Appreciate you guys. Enjoy, respect everyone's opinions. And we're going to get up out of here. I understand.
You don't either. Okay, you just lied to your people.
I just did not know.
You
like,
do
hey,
not
look,
respect other people's opinions.
I respect their opinion.
No.
I may not agree.
You definitely don't, but okay.
But I respect it. I'm out. Enjoy the rest of y'all lunch. Enjoy the rest of y'all day. Sorry for the people who lost their jobs. I really hopefully hope they find something soon. They find a role working for people that respect what they do. Peace.
Yeah. Bye, guys.
Peace out.